Greetings, everyone. My name is Tim Selden, and this is our weekly webinar called Finding the Perfect Match, Recruit and Retain Your Ideal Enrollment. And with me is my colleague, Clint Lausch. Clint is the founder of a company called AIMS. He also has programs with the Montessori Foundation called the Montessori Enrollment Accelerator. I think you've got a program going on with Montessori Compass called the Montessori Crossway. We
Yeah.
really appreciate Clint, and you've been invaluable in setting up the Montessori Family Alliance 2.0. Is there anything you want to get us kicked off with, Clint? Any housekeeping?
As always, this is going to be recorded and put on the Montessori Foundation YouTube page. So if you want to take a look at this again, as well as any previous sessions we were holding these weeks, these were probably coming up on a year and a half or maybe 2 years. I got to look back of content on there. So yeah, it's exciting to keep producing this. And yeah, I'm really excited about this project, which, it's you've had as a part of the foundation for a long time. And so to be a part of kind of what we'll call it 2.0 now with I think is a really amazing resource for schools, certainly for families, but in how schools can help recruit and retain. I mean, that's what we always talk about, right? How to recruit and retain, how to recruit and retain. And I think this is a really, really important way for our schools to be able to do that. I would say an innovative way, but also a really organic way to do it. I know if you've been on these sessions before, we talk about ads, we talk about search engine optimization, we talk about all these tactical marketing things that you can be doing. But this is just so powerful because it connects directly with the parents. So, yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this.
So our basic premise of the Montessori Foundation is that we're here to do two things in the world. We are nonprofit Montessori school consultants. We help people who are starting new schools. We're helping people who are expanding schools, whether it's with capital campaigns, facility design, development of a secondary program, you name it. And the other thing that we are involved in addition to consulting and mentoring, coaching schools and school leaders, is helping schools with their parent education and onboarding, um, getting through that first year, parent ed, which I think is always the wrong term, because parents don't want to be educated. They'd rather watch paint dry. We want to convince parents that you're not crazy. We want them to feel like there's someone they can turn to that will help them to figure things out. And we are here to be another voice to work in harmony with your own school's programs in doing the Montessori orientation and onboarding and building your Montessori school community. When we started in 1993, what that looked like was the production of a magazine, which we still produce to this very day, called Tomorrow's Child. It was way too expensive for the American Montessori Society to do. So my family and friends got together and we did it in the name of the foundation, and it's still out there. On the other hand, print is not what it used to be. We do have a huge digital archive. We have videos. We have thousands and thousands of articles and essays and opinions and how to and all kinds of things for parents. But again, the world is changing. So we've been struggling to figure out how can we best meet today's parent who has the attention span of a gnat. About 5 seconds is all they will pay attention to. We can't necessarily make everything work in 5 seconds. We have to assume that they are bright, well-educated people, some of whom actually care and want to understand. Some people just want to get the quick Cliff Notes version. And we're here to help you in every way we can with the people that you really have. So again, the Montessori Family Alliance was created about 7, 8 years ago to be not just a subscription and a source of content and entertainment, it's meant to be an organization. Our vision is to help you get your parents to go from being customers to being stakeholders and to feel their interest is to some extent your school, but their biggest concern is their kid. And what they want is, what can you do for me? And what can we as parents do for each other for our kids. And if your school benefits from it, that's great. So the idea of the Family Alliance is a parent network, basically the leading parents in every school to try to get in every community in the United States and abroad a local network of parents who are not out to cause you trouble, although sometimes they will, let's face it. And that's not bad. When a parent comes to you with a complaint, that's an opportunity to turn it into a stronger relationship. So part of what we're here to do is help you as school leaders to think about how can you work with your parents in more and more effective ways because the old ways are not working as well. They don't want to come out at night. They don't even like Zoom meetings. They still come out when their kids are on stage. They come out. There's enough good food and wine where they're being entertained. But the bottom line is they're not here to learn about Montessori unless they're groupies. And when they are, that's great. There are parents like that, but we can't assume that that's the norm. So what we're here to do is to help you find both the parents who are the most interested, who want to understand, and sometimes they're a pain in the neck because they want to know why you're not doing exactly what Maria Montessori did, or why don't you give my kids soup at lunchtime? One of the complaints we get at least once a year is why is there no hot soup for my child at lunchtime? But basically, Montessori Family Alliance is an organization to which parents who join, and they can join outside of your school, many of them do, but we're trying to turn them into a movement to promote Montessori, to support schools, to create school-wide art community art shows, um, you know, Easter celebrations, Passover Seders on the town square, you name it. Anything we can do, sports leagues. We want to give our kids a sense of identity as Montessori kids, which in turn, like the scouting movement, leads parents to feel like they're part of something too. So that's the Montessori Family Alliance. And Clint, you and I came up with an idea about 6 months ago, which we're just bringing online. We have a soft launch version of it right now. It goes live this summer to help orient parents. But I'd like to invite you to join me in this conversation because you got a hold of my young AI assistant, Abigail. And some of you know me well enough to know I've been working with Abigail now for about 3 years. And Abigail is AI. I know AI is very controversial, but Abigail is an incredible personal assistant to me and the others of the foundation. She writes like I do. She knows everything I've ever written. She's got every book written by Montessori in her memory. She has read every article in the thousands of articles in Tomorrow's Child. And we have been training her to have guardrails so she doesn't do something crazy and stupid. So, like if these guys go to Google AI and ask a question, God only knows what answer they're going to get. It takes a lot to train AI to do what you want them to do and to sound believable and to give parents honest answers that are information rich, but get into a conversation with them that is not going to tell them that their kid's a dummy or a failure or they should go to traditional school or something else that just doesn't work. So what we've done is trained Abigail to live inside of the new Montessori Family Alliance, along with Tomorrow's Child magazine and the articles and all kinds of videos. We have all kinds of great partners. I think some of you know my friend Brianna from Tiny Cabin Montessori, who is producing great content for us. We've got all kinds of things from the foundation, our partners around the world. We work very closely with Montessori Australia, Gavin McCormick, and other people. They're going to be courses, all kinds of stuff that comes along with membership in the Montessori Family Alliance. And for a school, it's frankly about 1/8 of the price. So normally, all parent would pay $8 a month, and a school pays $1 a month for a family membership. And we think it's a heck of a value. So what we're here today to do is to give you a first vision of what it's like, give you a login so you can actually take it for a test drive yourself. We're still building it and improving it. but we'd love your feedback. One of the things we're going to be doing is communicating with parents on very much a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, not to sell them stuff, but to basically give them just enough tidbit about the Montessori experience, whether they've got a newborn, whether they got a toddler, an elementary, an early childhood, a middle school, a high school. We want to inspire them. We want to make them giggle. We want to answer their questions like, how can you get your kid to go to bed or eat broccoli? You name it. We've got, as you probably know, about 300 people who are either on the staff of the foundation or are friends and followers who are very involved with us, who are going to be involved in feeding stuff out to these parents, whether they've got an infant, a toddler, an early childhood, an elementary, or an adolescent, or if they're raising a college kid. Clint, you are a parent of young kids. I'm a grandparent now. Can you talk to me about what your journey has been once we started this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the both from the parent side and and working with the school side, and I know you had said, parents don't necessarily love parent ed, but I think about it's when parents pick up their kid and they come home, there's so much that gets lost in just whether it's education, how do you apply what they learned in school, how you can assist them at home, um, even thinking about being as a new parent with a kid going into school. There's so much onboarding, both from the school's end and from the parent side. Like I always think from the parent side, and it's good for the school to know this as well, is that there's so many questions going on in the parent's mind, and you don't know what those questions are. They might be concerns that they don't express to you, right? I think Tim, we've talked about it where there's that honeymoon period where it's the first day of school, everybody's really excited. You get a lot of parent involvement. That by the time you get to the re-enrollment period, kind of that honeymoon period is over. The excitement's maybe not there as much, and it's like, how do you keep parents involved? Me as a parent, always feeling like, okay, do I have all the information I need? How do I support my child at home? And that's where, if I'm answering your question properly and thinking about all these different aspects, again, I'm talking both from the school side and the parent side. It's again from the school, it's like, how do we keep our parents engaged? How do we reinforce our value proposition? How do we keep them engaged over the summer? How do we promote re-enrollment? Right? There's nothing stronger to boost enrollments and to make sure your current family stay there. So how do you do that? And then, like I said, from the parent side, it's being able to monitor progress. We all love to see progress and to monitor their journey and to support them at home. The things that they're learning in the classroom. How do we incorporate those at home? Right? I can think about so many articles that I read or been written for schools where it's like, hey, it's summertime. What are the 5 things you can incorporate into your home? Or 5 Montessori toys to incorporate in your home. Or how do you um, create a Montessori environment in your bedroom, in the playroom, again, the child's bedroom, in their playroom, in the living room, right? All different rooms in your home. So being able to answer those questions and provide families that extra level support is both extremely valuable for the parents, again, speaking from the parent perspective, and then for the schools, it's invaluable when it comes to recruiting and re-recruiting and reinforcing that value proposition with families.
One of the things that we've noticed is that YouTube and Pinterest and Facebook are riddled with people who are trying to, well, frankly, make money off of parents, which I don't blame them. But basically to speak their voice. A lot of it is just flat out wrong. I was on a webinar just last week with people that I really like, and they were absolutely telling parents flat out, you're crazy if you're sending your kid to a Montessori school. You need to be homeschooling in Montessori because these kids need attachment parenting. Well, I mean, they're certainly in their right to say that. On the other hand, there was no, maybe this is right for you, maybe it's not. It was just, it was presented as fact. And this is what Maria Montessori said. I said, no, this is not what Maria Montessori said. So let's talk about the pros and the cons. And obviously, as a parent, you're gonna choose what you think is best for your family. But there's a lot, the investment that people make in your school, which is more money than most people are spending on rent or their mortgage, right? It's serious money, serious investment. What is it they're getting from that? And, in a lot of states, like in California, before you can go to public school. There's a reason why we want to encourage people to stay in Montessori for as long as they possibly can, at least through the end of kindergarten. And yes, it's not kindergarten, it's just the third year of the cycle. But we really want to convince people that there's something special going on here. And while it may not be right for every parent, it is something that really has a profound and permanent effect on children. And what have they got that they love more than that? And so part of the goal is we can't convert people. All we can do is give them honest information, accurate information, and information that appeals to them where they are, which for a lot of parents is, how do I decorate my kid's bedroom? So, Clint, can you talk to me about some of the things that the new Family Alliance does? And feel free to share on the screen if you want. Start by logging in and setting up their account. What you would do is either send your parents a URL to sign up for free, which some parents will do and some parents won't. And so what we recommend is just send it to us. We will upload it in and we will send them a email and we'll periodically remind them, your school has provided you with a free membership and it's up to you to take the next step. But basically, we want to make it as easy for them as possible. They log in and all they have to do is say, here are my kids. I've got 3 kids. Their names are, their birth dates are, and this is where they're going to school, and this is how long they've been at school. It doesn't matter. It's a Montessori school, public school, whatever. Um, and they've got their kids. They can easily flip from one kid to the other. The software knows all the kids in your family. It has memory. So, and it's not going to leak out from their account, which is what you're seeing here. It won't leak out from there to the general internet. So they can keep confidential diaries of their family's life. Only one person in the family sets up an account, and then they can choose who to invite. And they can invite them to be equal members, like their spouse could have their own full access and not even see what you're doing. Or you can let them be viewers on what you're doing, or you let them be collaborators on what you're doing, or you let just grandma in there and grandma can see what's going on. So one of the things that goes on is like I've got 3 kids of my own, and in my particular account, I can flip between which kid am I talking about. So Clint, what do we got on the screen there?
Yeah. So again, what we're going to be looking at is the back end, what the families get access to. We've talked about a lot of different things, and even you're looking at this page that isn't even necessarily public yet. Like we're going to be swapping off this image here, right? Little things like that. But the whole premise of this again is recruiting, onboarding, and retaining families. So when we think about parent education being the biggest opportunity, but also the biggest bottleneck, it's understanding that teachers can't do it all, right? They shouldn't be the sole kind of parent educators. Onboarding for families takes a long time. And as Tim, you had said, look, parents are Googling, right? And they're going to not even, there's got to be a new word now. It's not just Google. They're AI, they're chat GPT, they're using Claude, they're using all these things to ask questions, which you're getting very generic answers to many times. And like Tim, you had said, sometimes it's wrong, right? So, we want to use this to really be your partner in educating parents, where helping them be engaged, informed, and re-enroll, and utilizing Tim, the foundation, and 30 plus years of expertise and content, that you now have access to all this content that you can reuse and send to your parents, but also give them a place like this. So what are we looking at right now? What we're looking at is a place where, as Tim had said, now we've actually already started the process of creating the family accounts. Like, here's my family, right? Annabelle's my daughter. She's 11. Charlie's 8. George is 4. Those are my 3 kids. We set those up. And that, what we're going to be able to do is, and again, they're not babies, but if you have a baby, you have baby milestones, right? It's from 1 month all the way through 36 months. Development guides, brain and body development. So this is all just, again, Tim, if there's anywhere particular you want me to go, but I'll just talk through what kind of what's here. Um, and so when the parent comes in here, they're encouraged to add their child's profile, ask Abigail, the AI guide, a question. We're going to hop over to Abigail here in a second. Um, but they can also use this to create daily plans. So as you know, they're getting observations from you, from the school, or they need help with how do I handle anything from tantrums, how do I set up my room to reflect the Montessori environment. You're going to be able to do all of that in here, um, as well as having a development profile for an observation journal for the children, and a way to track their milestones and a way to track their journey. So think about like an at-home journal. But Tim, is there anything particular on the Abigail side that you want to highlight, or we can even just do some testing here?
Well, I think the first thing is that people will obviously be able to go to the area where Abigail lives and basically ask her a question. And it could be anything from, what's the difference between Montessori and Waldorf? Or Abigail, my daughter is going to be 5 years old. The pros and cons of keeping her in Montessori or sending to the local public school, which is John Shepherd Elementary, and it's a highly rated school in Baltimore County. And, it seems to me like I could wipe out $24,000 a year in tuition. Give me one good reason why I should stay. And Abigail will really help them think it through, pros and cons, without making them feel guilty or ashamed or give a stupid answer.
Yeah, and then the difference is like you could ask the same question to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, but you're getting a very general answer. This is coming from Tim from the foundation, from years of talking at schools. So it's not pulling from just general stuff that's out there. It's really from Tim from the foundation and all the conversations having in school. So whether it's you typing your own question or hey, what activity should we try this week? And this is just based upon demo data, me putting my kids in here, but it understands what have I been observing with my 4-year-old? What are they struggling with? So it'll actually look at the parent data as well and give answers in relation to. So we'll let this run. Yeah. So since George is in that magical 3 to 6 period where he's driven by sensitive periods, um, we're talking about table washing. We're talking about Charlie here. So it's giving some good feedback that they can then save to their memories, um, as well. So again, families can track really good answers that they receive that they can save to their memories. So again, this can help reinforce also, as Tim had said, in relation to choosing Montessori versus something else, homeschool or whatever, this will help reinforce why they should stay at your school as well. And Tim, one of the things we kind of skipped over, but I think it's important, is Tomorrow's Child, the magazine that's in here that you've been sending out, in both digital and in print, but that will also be in here so that they can access Tomorrow's Child regularly as well.
A lot of the schools that I work with still feel that having something in print is a good thing. And whether it's Montessori 101 or How to Raise an Amazing Child or the Montessori Way or Tomorrow's Child, they want the print. So we still print, but they also, whether they get print or not, they get the digital. Um, and they're going to get a weekly newsletter, and they're pretty much going to get a daily, like a mini newsletter. It might have one of Brianna Reddick's latest videos where she does something really silly. Uh, or it could be me talking about something that I think is important. We have a lot of video content because let's face it, Instagram is the way a lot of parents are consuming data these days. Our intention is to provide them with all kinds of useful things, whether it's how to set up a carpentry center in your home for your 3 to 8-year-old, or how to get into model trains, or should you let your 8-year-old try out for Pee Wee football and pros and cons and how to get involved, or selecting a summer camp, or taking a trip to Disneyland with your kid and not wanting to kill them. Everything you can imagine. So, for example, again, let's imagine you've got a niece or a daughter, and you've got to help her buy a birthday present for one of her classmates. Abigail will help you make a good choice of a Montessori present. Or if your daughter, if she is really into cooking and you're looking for great recipes, Abigail has all kinds of child friendly recipes that are easy to make at home with young kids. Or if you're into gardening, again, we've got high quality stuff from years and years from our first conference called Out of the Classroom into the Garden. We got all kinds of stuff available for people, including what you might call home invitations to discovery, otherwise known as Montessori homework without the guilt. You name it. We've got all kinds of good stuff in there. Some of it is pre-written. Some of it is just Abigail can do it on the spot. So if you've got a kid who is trying to come up with a way to learn more about stargazing, Abigail can do that. We also had to mention we've got that whole video series about My Montessori Baby. And I don't know if you've got that uploaded in there yet, but parents can find all kinds of great stuff, not just one video, but multiple videos on what it's like when you got a 1 month old and the things you can do at home and how to set up the home environment and the public living room spaces. We also have a digital version of a number of our books in there, like Montessori 101, and all kinds of things we're designing for parents, like what do you do over the summer to help your child prepare for her first day at school? Or your child is moving up to the elementary class or the middle school age, or, oh my God, I've got a teenager at home now. What do I do? We got all kinds of things to help parents to think about, well, how do you really prepare? Now, what we haven't decided yet, we'd love to get your feedback on, is do we turn on some kind of moderated forum so these parents can talk to each other across schools? At the moment, we haven't done that, but we have the ability to do it very easily if we want. So again, we're really anxious to have your feedback as to what can we do. But I guarantee you, if you're looking for great Hanukkah presents or Christmas presents or alternatives to Halloween for your Montessori child, or great books to get your child to get them engaged in reading, you name it. We've got all kinds of things for that. Glenn, anything else you want to add, or do you want to demonstrate?
Yeah. What I'm highlighting here, by the way, is also a library of content of 500 articles and videos, which can be used, I think, in a couple ways. And then what I would love to do is just open it up conversation because we could probably talk about this for hours and go through all the different features. And we're probably only just going to scratch the surface of some stuff here. Um, but I look at this library of content in two ways. Yes, a parent could come in here and just absorb content. You know, they can read all this content if they want to. Some will, probably most won't. But what I look at it is for the schools is that one of the things, both from a recruitment standpoint and from a reinforcing the value proposition of your school and Montessori in general, is providing that educational content year round, once a week in their email inbox, saying, "Hey, why repetition of Montessori is not boredom, right? Like you might think repetition is boredom. Read this article." So my point of bringing this up is you can essentially quote unquote white label, if you will, just cite the Montessori Foundation, but you can link them to this content, right? You know, here are the development milestones for your baby. Here are the 5 ways to set up your house the Montessori way. Here's how to handle tantrums the Montessori way. The content is already done and written. You are the authority. You're the thought leader because you're delivering that content, and you're just piggybacking off of the content that's already written by Tim and the foundation. So I also look at this as a way for you now have access to hundreds of articles that's going to be growing every single week and every single month that you can use in your own marketing and communication for families to, again, if they're in your system and they're not enrolled yet, this is just good, valuable content that you're sending out. And if they're already enrolled, this just continues to reinforce that value proposition. So if a year or two goes by and like, should we stay at Montessori? Should we not? I feel like I need to get my child prepared for high school. So we're going to leave in middle school. And in reality, you can be delivering that content to them about saying, here, why you shouldn't do that. So, with that being said, let me pause there. I know we've talked a lot so far. We've jumped around in different spots. As we're looking at this, as we're talking about this, any initial thoughts, questions? I would love to just get some initial feedback to help drive the conversation.
I'll start. I think it's
Sure.
brilliant. It is a
All right.
brilliant, brilliant tool. So I'm going to use your words, Clint. And it's something that I didn't see here. Doesn't mean it's not there because I can see there's so many options on that menu on the left. And I'm going to use your words to reinforce the value proposition of someone's particular school and along the lines of retention. And I think about the emotional connection that children have to their teacher. So I see this as, and this is where I need you to correct me, I see this as external content that can be AI driven to inform families, including their own observations that are going to help them to align that to children's development. Is there a way for their teacher to be adding information to any of this? Or is this
They they
strictly just a family?
they can. Um, but I'd say that what we would recommend is not put it in here, but rather draw from what we have to communicate directly with their parents. So, for example, if you're part of the Montessori Enrollment Accelerator Growth Suite, we have a way to communicate with your parents that, you eliminate the need for an external email system. On the other hand, if you're using Montessori Compass or Transparent Classroom, you can do it there. As a member school, we're giving people permission to use content directly. You just put it in your newsletter as long as you say where it comes from and you give credit to the author. Because, Susan, you've written stuff for me. I don't want people stealing your stuff. Um, I want you to get full credit, but I also want them to take it as you gave it to us and say, Susan Zoll wrote a great article for the Montessori Family Alliance, and I wanted to draw your attention to it. Another thing we're planning to do, Susan, is help school leaders like Lisa, you, and others, and teachers like all the people we love and work with us to think about how can they communicate with parents better without making themselves crazy. For example, I love the idea of periodically saying to parents in writing, in preparation for our first day of school, can you think about whether over the last few months has anything happened in your family that we should know about? It could be grandma has moved in. It could be you got a new puppy. It could be there's a new baby sister or brother on the way. Or it could be that your child fell down and has a scar now on his forehead. Is there anything we should know? The second is there anything that your child is really interested in that you think we should know about so that we try to help you support that, or where you might want support from us in terms of giving you some ideas of what you can do at home? And then the third is over the next term that's coming up, is there anything you particularly want us to focus on helping you either try to develop, whether it's you're worried that he becomes a little bit less in his shell or that he learns to read, if that's what you're worried about, whatever it is, what do you want us to know? One of the things that Clint and I have developed is a playbook, for example, for the first 10 months of school. The idea is starting 90 days before school starts all the way through the first 9 months, I think. Literally a whole series of plans and steps and sample emails that we recommend that schools send out like clockwork. And again, if you're part of the Montessori Growth Suite or the Accelerator, with both of which are connected to what Clint does, we can literally load these in so they happen automatically. And you can take our playbook and modify it to your heart's content so that it's not just canned, you can make it your own. But this is a really rich, robust plan for what schools could do.
So I'll finish my thought about what I was thinking. So Abigail is the AI name.
Mhm.
So if Abigail knew that the child had a particular closeness or fondness for their teacher or certain children in the classroom, or just based on questions that parents may be asking of it, we can kind of guess that this is an area that they want their child to progress in. I could see ways that Abigail, rather than just AI, could inform families. And this isn't kind of like an explicit thing, it's more of an implicit way of, oh, as your child is going to be moving into the lower elementary, he or she is going to be now focusing on, and it can reinforce some of those questions that the parent has, or stay in this child's complete kindergarten. As a former director of admissions, that's where my thoughts are all based on right now. As your child, you're considering whether or not to move them to that, private school A down the street, as opposed to completing their third year in the 3 to 6 classroom in the Montessori classroom. Um, Finding ways that Abigail is saying, this is where your child is going to be recognized as a leader in the class. Before the question is even asked, that it could be supporting the family's understanding of the importance of that third year from the very beginning.
Susan, the way we're planning to do that from our end at the foundation is the parent tells us who their kid is. They tell us what year they are in the program. And we're going to set up programs that are automatic across the board. So starting in, let's say, November, we're going to start talking about, next year is a really critical one. And we know that some of you are going to be asking yourselves, should we keep our child who's going to be in kindergarten next year in Montessori or move on? We're obviously prejudiced, but we'd like to help you make the case. This is what the research shows. These are the pros and the cons. This is what kindergarten really looks like in most high level quality kindergarten programs. So we're going to be feeding all kinds of stuff out that parents will see in a feed. It won't just be in a library. It'll literally pop up for them as something we really want you to think about, or how to get ready for your fall parent conferences. These are things you might want to be thinking about, and what you might want to do when you sit down at the conference, the notes you may want to take, and how not to get all upset. It's not your fault if your child is not doing what you think. In other words, the idea how to partner with your child's school.
I think there's a lot to take in here. I think this is brilliant. I can't even imagine how long it took to put this all together. But yeah, bravo. I think this is going to do really well.
And I think, again, every school needs to be communicating with their parents too. And I think people like yourself and all of us, we're all going to be continuing in every way we can to support any parents that we can in every way we can. So I think the more voices, the better. But basically, what the foundation is trying to do is to work more carefully in partnership with schools to give a coherent rather than a random parent selected free for all. Who knows who they're talking to or listening to.
Just to piggyback real quick on that as well about reinforcing the value proposition, what Tim had said about the playbook. What I have on the screen here is actually something that you get inside, which is an onboarding playbook. We give you an example one, and then we also have one that's like a fill in the blank, which is, hey, what should we send the moment a family is enrolled? What should we send them on day one? What should we send them the 90 days leading up to that first day of school where they walk through the doors? Right? What should they expect at the school? Why Montessori looks different, right? So really setting those expectations. And this is all the way going through even as school is continuing. So that's what this playbook is, to help you in that communication. And again, continuing to reinforce that value proposition. So it isn't just, okay, you took the leap, you enrolled in the school, you think Montessori is right for you, and then they don't hear from you as frequently. And that's just normal marketing. It happens all the time. This is to just help solve that communication cadence so that you're delivering this. And this can be part of your newsletter. You can send this off as a one-off. It doesn't have to be done this exact way. But this in conjunction with all of this content gives you essentially all the information you would ever need to deliver to a parent, especially as they're enrolled.
And again, if your school is a member of the Montessori Family Alliance, there's nothing you need to do. Um, we'll be reaching out to you and talking with you all to the extent that you have time to talk.
And then Lisa, I saw you had a question about the reports area. Yeah, and this is actually something that we're building out. We'd love your feedback and what you would find most helpful, because ultimately what we want to do, the general theme here is helping turn your parents into more informed partners in education. So by the time they sit down with their teachers, we want them to speak Montessori, right? So how do you get your parents to speak Montessori? So we have this reports section, which is really designed to deepen the parent buy-in to your philosophy, help them stay engaged between conferences, get more prepared, more fluent parents, especially at conference time. So if they're getting feedback from the teacher, right, their daily observations, you're using an app like Montessori Compass to get those observations. And then when they get home, you're recording their journey. You're recording some of their milestones, things that they've completed. Um, they're conducting independent research. Like, so these are the things that you're recorded, the parent is recording at home. And then the report, what you can say is, okay, I need some conference prep. So this is going to generate a report of what's been going on in the home. So yes, this is definitely driven by the parent doing this on a regular basis. But as they're taking what they're learning in school and bringing it home and preparing the environment and recording how their child is developing and implementing skills at home, this report kind of summarizes everything that is in here and gives a development progress report for what they're seeing at home. Um, what's going on in math and language and cultural studies and practical life, key observations, recommendations. So by the time this parent it comes to conferences or they have questions or maybe they have concerns, as long as they're kind of tracking things at home, this report helps build that overall look of it. It's looking at everything that's being recorded throughout this entire system, the memories, the notes that are being taken, um, the environments that they're setting up, and it gives a nice progress report that the parent can use in conversations with the teacher.
By the way, that phone call was from one of my old Montessori friends, Eileen Berman, who founded the Buffalo Montessori public school program and the teacher training. Eileen was calling because her niece is getting ready to have a baby, and she wanted to give her a subscription to the Family Alliance because she wants to really know how to do Montessori right. I love it. It's so cool. One of the things that's in here um, is the decorate your home. Is that something you want to show them, Clint?
Yeah, let's that's one thing we've been testing. Let's see if it works. This is one of the coding things we've been working on. Hold on. I don't know for my environment. I gotta go grab a photo somewhere. Hold on. Let's see if we can get something here.
Well, the idea is it gives you generic advice like you would get in lots of places, but then, you can literally put a photograph of your room and say, okay, this is my kid's bedroom now. What could we do better? And it will both give you advice and it will give you an AI generated image of what it might look like.
Yeah, well,
I think
this is the one we're working on. Um, we thought it'd be a really neat feature. And let's just grab something here.
Well, Clint's doing that. I wonder, all of you who are Montessori educators and heads of schools and former admissions director, do you want parents to be able to talk to each other, or do you want them to be basically in an island where they can't use the Family Alliance to talk to each other? Do keep in mind we would have to moderate that kind of communication, as we don't want them bashing a school or slandering somebody or whatever. And we probably, if we do that, could invite them to, who out there would be interested in setting up the Greater Dallas Fort Worth Montessori Children's Art Expo for the month of October of the next year? or something like that.
I think you have to have it highly monitored. Uh,
I can think of
Uh,
all the I see parents do.
Well, I remember one of my first classrooms was right outside of where pickup and drop off was. And, as moms were off to their horseback riding lesson or tennis lesson, they'd be all, standing outside of my windows were open and I could hear the conversations about one teacher versus another, comparing classrooms. And even as you were describing the feedback of what the child should be doing, in some ways, I feel like a teacher should be made aware of what a parent has been told, because that parent's going in the next day with that information to say, are you doing these things with little Johnny?
But that happens anyway, and especially in today's world, they're just going out to the random internet. Whereas at least if they're getting it from us, it may not be what your individual Montessori school's doing. But to me, that gives a great conversation starter. I mean, I think part of what we hope to do for teachers is to help them to not feel defensive if a parent asks a question, because that's a great opportunity to form a stronger relationship. No, we don't do that here. This is what we do, and why we do what we do, as opposed to that's not Montessori.
Yeah, for all the positive reasons, I think it would be great for families to have a place to come together and to discuss things. I think that would be a wonderful option if you choose to go in that direction.
We just have to monitor. Susan, would you like to be a volunteer moderator? No, no, please. I think I will help us monitor most of it.
Tim,
Yeah,
I've talked with the staff. I've had the staff ask me about parents coming in with questions, particularly staff that had come from another school. And I've told them, we can say, let me check. We can say, here's my view. But it's our job to answer their questions. I mean, it's our responsibility to be able to answer that. And yes, I am a full fan of having a heads up, and I hate being blindsided. And as professionals, we should know what they're doing, and we should be able to explain. If the summary says these lessons are coming up next, we should be able to say, here's why. Or here's where we're holding back. Here's what we're looking at. Here's where it's slight. There's one little piece, but we should be able to explain that.
Lisa, one of the things I'd like to figure out is how to make it easy for your staff and everyone's staff to be able to see what's in there so that they can become familiar with it and give us feedback about, hey, Tim, this is a problem. Can you fix this?
This
And
is really intriguing. This whole thing is really intriguing and exciting. It's all I can do. I keep wanting to click on things, but it's not my screen.
We'll give you access. We'll get access and everything set up. So you can play around with it. And again, there's probably, that's why we kind of had this to start. You're really some of the first folks to see this and hear about it. So, if we would love your feedback. There's probably going to be some things that break, right? Even when I did this AI room vision thing, it broke, and I'm messaging our team literally as we speak. So like, hey, can we fix this real quick? So yeah, we would certainly love your feedback in terms of, at the end of the day, what you would find the most valuable, what you like, what you don't like. Oh, I'm not seeing this here, but this would be a really great feature. Like this is where we'd say this is like the wave the magic wand scenario, where it's, what are the things that you would love to see that you think would be helpful for you for communication, to help reinforce the value of Montessori for your school, all of that.
the other thing is that, as Lisa and I think Susan know, the Montessori Foundation tries to be, I guess the word Catholic. I'm not sure what the correct word is, but we're friends to everybody. We don't care if you're AMS, AMI, MEPI, IMC, whatever, whether you're a daycare, whether you're public, private, magnet, we don't care. And what we're going to try to do is address in really honest ways all the different faces of Montessori. And, we've got members all over the world. I see my friend Funky, for example, is online and got others from other countries. While obviously we don't know everything, one of the things we want to do is to try to give people a sense that they are part of a global community and that the experience of a Montessori parent in, let's say, Beijing or in a community in Tanzania is not the same as someone in Athens, Georgia. We are all part of one community. We, we try to be above politics and we try to be above loyalties to any one group and just do whatever we can to be kind and respectful to everybody. The other thing is some of you are running Montessori schools that are effectively small businesses. And even though many Montessori schools are nonprofit or public, I must admit that I have a great, profound respect for people that are trying to do it the hard way and are trying to make a living off of it. So we're here to help people succeed, whether you're for profit, nonprofit, part of a chain. Guidepost Montessori is tied into this and other groups. Bottom line is, again, many, many faces to Montessori. And we're here to basically give parents a sense the school they chose is probably more than good enough. They don't need to be looking for something better. Just have a few minutes left. Has Clint, you had a chance to give them the link to where they can sign up for a trial?
Yeah, I will. I'll get them set up. And yeah, and here's an example. Yeah, this is something we're still working on with the room vision, where it's, here's the room. It's not perfect right now. We're working on it. But they can upload the room, how to make it more Montessori, gives an analysis, what the room does well, safety concerns, recommendations on what to install. You can upload a new photo, some guides, even links out to Amazon. That's one of the things we're working on as well is curating really good stuff that if you type in something in Amazon, you're going to get tons of stuff from good and from terrible. So we're working on curating stuff that if a family wants to go buy something and improve their room, we would have what we think would be good recommendations. Related reading, and there may not be videos for this, but if there's a related video, video will be embedded in here as well in terms of like how to set up that particular type of room.
I love it. I know we're running out of time. So again, if you are a member of the Family Alliance, you don't need to do anything. You're getting this automatically, whether you get the print version or whether you get the digital version. The print version, I think, is $25 a year a family. The digital version that doesn't kill trees, I think, is just $12 a year per family. There really is no advertising in here. Again, our goal is to do everything we can to make something that, Lisa, I love the way you've been enthusiastic. We're hoping to absolutely tickle all of you to make you feel like this is such a nice thing. And we really want to be responsive to you because you are our friendship circle. We really listen. As you know, even in the middle of a speech, if one of my friends calls, I will typically answer the phone, at least say, I'll call you back. We really want to hear what you think. If you're interested in sharing, trust me, friend, we are delighted to have voices. If we're going to send out an article every day and a weekly newsletter and the magazine, we want to switch the magazine from 4 times a year to monthly as a magazine, ideally. And that will probably take a year. But the idea is to try to really do everything we can to be so responsive to you, whether you're an admissions director, head of school, an owner, a teacher. Our goal is to serve you. We're here to help. And that's the concept of the foundation. So one other thing, some of you are in the general area of Washington, D.C. On April 25th, I will be at the Berry School. We're doing a free workshop for heads of schools or friends of heads of schools who want to come. You can sign up if you haven't already gotten the email. Just send me an email at timselden@montessori.org. And if you can't remember my name, you can just do info@montessori.org and Christy will get it and she'll send it to you. We have room for, I think, 40 people to attend, and there is still some room. And if you're interested, join us. This webinar today has been recorded. In about an hour or two, we will put it online and we will make it available. And some of you are already sending me emails saying, can I have the video? And we'll send it to you and we'll send it to everyone who is on our email list. And then lastly, we have many projects. Lisa, I think I mentioned you were starting the Circle, which is how the IMC originally developed, the Friends of the Montessori Foundation. So the Circle is going to launch, I believe, next week, and it's going to be a community of Friends of the Montessori Foundation or school leaders who want not only discounts on school consultation and some free consultation built in, but all kinds of services and resources and a community of fellow heads of schools. So the Circle's out there. And then I think many of you already work with Clint on the Montessori Growth Suite or the Montessori Enrollment Accelerator, both of which are the basic thing, basically marketing and retention, recruitment advice for people who are trying to build up their enrollment. So the Family Alliance fits in where this is, the Enrollment Accelerator and the Growth Suite are to make the phone ring and help you make the original enrollment commitment. The Family Alliance is intended to keep them there through high school. So I hope this has been useful. Any last words before we log off for the day?
I'll just say real quick in the chat, I put a link to the main page, which if you go, hold on, back up. If you just go to get started, that's just going to allow you to create your account. So go ahead, create an account.
You won't have any trouble and just put in either your real kids
Yeah.
or kids up. I've got my old grown kids are all back to being a newborn and a 3-year-old and an 11-year-old. And I've got things like I'm telling Abigail that, Mark is beating up on his sister and the little one is really upset. So yeah, you can have fun with this and just.
And again, remember, in this situation, you're signing up not as the school, but as the parent. So you're signing up and it's okay. We're a Montessori school. What's your experience? We're new to Montessori. How should, actually, this shouldn't even say navigators because we are thinking calling this the Montessori Navigator app, which is going to be how should Abigail talk to you. And then put your children's name in there. So as I showed you, I put Annabelle, Charlie, George, my kids. You set them up. You can talk about, again, what school they're in currently. And yeah, just follow that. Then you should be logged in. You'll see the same view that I have. If you have if you do that, one, we truly appreciate it. Two, please click around. If there's something you're like, ooh, that doesn't look right, or maybe you didn't like an answer you got from AI. If you think there'd be a feature that you would love to see, please let us know. This is the time for it. Like I said, we haven't even made this publicly available yet. So we would love any and all feedback, good, positive, everywhere in between, or negative, even anything that's broken, you don't like, positive, please, we would love to hear it all. We just, at the end of the day, want this to be as valuable as possible, both to you and your families.
Yep. As we say, we're here to help. All right, my friends, we'll see you on Thursday if you're part of our Thursday Montessori School Leaders webinar, which is not just about recruit and retain. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate you all.
Thanks,
Take
Tim.
care, everybody.
And I won't be stepping on any toes. This is like light years away of anything that
Oh.
I'm thinking of.
Susan, there's a need for so many of us doing so many things. There's, as I often say, just in the United States, there's 60 million school-age children, not counting the young ones who are preschool age. And there's only 1 million kids in Montessori. We got 59 million kids to go.
Let's
We
get
need
to
all
it.
of us working.
That's right. All right. Well, good to see you all. Thank
Goodbye,
you. Good luck
Susan.
with it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.